Hey YouTube, Zogyo here, and Earth is the only planet in the solar system that can harbour life as we know it, and Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun, and it's pretty inhospitable. We haven't been able to send any humans there, and if we were, without spacesuits, they would die, of course, in Mars's atmosphere. But there are proposals to terraform the planet. Now, ignoring the ethical concerns of this, because technically we do have the right to do this as a collective species, because of the Outer Space Treaty, which says that we do technically own all of outer space, and Mars as well, but included in that. But there are problems such as how this treaty has never been tested with actual action, so we don't know how it will last when people do actually starting to terraform Mars. But anyway, let's assume that there are no geopolitical problems with this, and let's assume that it goes on as normal. By the 2030s, humans would start landing on a planet. By the 2050s, we'd start to see small colonies with a few hundred people or so living on the planet. By the end of the century, there would be things like mining of resources and factories. These wouldn't be just there to exploit Mars's resources, but also to create a greenhouse effect, because this would start to warm up the planet. By the 2300s, the polar ice caps would actually start to melt, and there would start to be liquid water. The planet's temperature would now be consistently above zero as well, so more hospitable. By the 2500s, we'd start to see cities growing on the planet, all underground at this point, though the atmosphere is still inhospitable for humans, but we'd start to see things like potentially even bioengineered bacteria made just in order to live on Mars, the red planet, and to release oxygen into the atmosphere to make it more hospitable for us. Also, by this point, Mars's atmosphere would be at about a tenth of the pressure of Earth's atmosphere, which still isn't that much, but it's getting somewhere just because of all the greenhouse gases being released, giving more gas into the atmosphere. Now, by the 2600s or the 2700s, we see tens of millions of people living on the planet, and we'd also be able to actually go outside for very short periods of time. We'd be able to start introducing as well things like algae onto the planet, which would speed up the oxygen production even further. By the 2800s, you'd be able to take off your spacesuit and walk around on a planet. The atmosphere would also be thick enough to protect you from the deadly rays of the sun, even though, of course, Mars doesn't have a magnetic field. And by the year 3000, it will basically be a second Earth.